Hey, this is Anand Chimpy from AnandTech.com, and you're looking at Windows Phone 7 running on the Samsung Focus. What I wanted to do here is just give you a quick tour of the OS and really point out some of the things that we described in our actual review, but put video to it so you can actually see it in motion. So this is the start screen. You'll notice it's very, very clean. Across the top, you don't get the normal stuff that you do see on a smartphone. All you really get is the time. Tap up here and you'll get, we don't have a SIM in it right now, but you would get signal strength there, Wi-Fi. This just tells you that we're currently in silent vibrate mode, and there's the remaining battery. That'll disappear on its own. Everything's nicely animated. You'll see the whole OS runs at 60 frames a second for the most part. There are tons of little animations, so as we scroll to the bottom here, that arrow animates, just telling you that there is another screen if you're looking for something that isn't on the start screen. You can tap or swipe to get to it. Again, if you view this as the start screen as being your frequently accessed stuff, this screen is an old school start menu with pretty much everything on the phone. You can pin or uninstall anything here. So let's take an app here. So stopwatch app, if we wanted this to appear on the start screen, we can hit pin to start and it'll appear on the start screen. We can move it anywhere we want, just tap and hold, reposition, reposition, and there you go. You can unpin just as easily, tap and hold, hit the unpin. Anything you want to uninstall can be uninstalled, and that includes carrier-specific apps. So you'll see there's some AT&T specific ones here. If we don't want AT&T Radio, tap and hold, hit uninstall, hit yes, and boom, it's gone. Now, if we did a factory restore on the device, that would come back, but the point is that unlike some of the phones that we've seen on Verizon so far, if you don't like the way something ships from the factory, you can change it. You'll see these tiles here on the start screen do update. So the people tile basically just, I've given it my Facebook login information, so it's gone out and gotten profile pictures, and it just animates them there. There's my Xbox Live avatar. He kind of headbutts the text a little bit. These aren't really necessary features. It just kind of keeps the screen lively. There's this whole idea of a wider than one screen UI. So if you look at Android or iOS, there's this concept of pages, right? So you've got multiple home screens or multiple pages of apps. Microsoft takes a slightly different approach. So you can envision this as maybe a larger desktop, and you've just got a little viewport into a small portion of it. If you click on the People tile, you get to the People Hub, and this is really the best example of it. Fundamental primary UI elements through Windows Phone 7 is just really text. They don't rely on, the OS doesn't rely on a lot of graphics, a lot of icons, stuff like that. You see you've just got people in really, really big text across the top of the screen. You'll see the text is cut off, and you also have some indication that there's more over here. So what you're looking at is a limited viewport of a much larger desktop space, and the desktop is just wide. So if you scroll left to right, you get, you basically pivot and get multiple. They're effectively pages, but you get a view into the wider nature of the UI. And what really makes all of this work is the fact that the whole UI is GPU accelerated. So even though this isn't a fast SoC in here, by today's standards, it's fast enough to do this kind of stuff. And the experience is only going to get better from here on forward as we get faster hardware. You've got three buttons on at the bottom of all Windows phones. You've got Search, which will bring up Bing. You've got the Start button, which will take you back to the start screen. And you'll notice that when you leave and go into other apps and switch between apps, you get great animations through all this. So if we bring up Bing again, everything folds out, Bing folds in, go back to the start screen folds in. This third button here is the back button. And what that does is it actually functions as a web browser style back button. So it'll go historically through all of the apps that you've been through. So if we hit Internet Explorer, and then hit the start screen, hit camera, hit the start screen, hit people, hit the start screen, and then let's just bring up my email real quick. Hit the start screen. Now, if we hit the back button, it'll go through all of those apps in sequence. So we have email, people, camera, web page, Bing, and then we're back home. There is no conventional multitasking in Windows Phone 7 yet, so this is really the only way you get between apps. It does work pretty well. I'd say it gets you probably 80 to 90% of the way there, but eventually Microsoft will have to include some sort of manual task switching, which I'm expecting we'll see in the next 6 months or so. Customization does exist within the OS, and it's actually really, really simple. So if we go over here and go to Settings, you can customize themes, and the themes are literally just choosing the color of kind of highlighted or linked text and the tiles. So we're looking at the default blue, but you can go crazy if you want. You do magenta, and then boom, everything's this kind of pink magenta color. Pick different colors. You can also change the background color. So this is a Super AMOLED display, which means that you're better off with a dark background, but if you want, you can choose a light background. And then everything now has a light background with whatever accent color you wanted. I suspect with LCD-based displays that this will be a more preferred configuration since it won't kill your battery nearly as quick. The wider than one screen UI is really useful for things like email. So if we bring up my email, you've got tabs for all emails, unread, or just urgent. The unread one is super useful because it's just literally the stuff you haven't read yet. To delete is real easy. You just kind of tap in the corner, check the things that you want to delete, hit delete, then they're gone. So there's the email tab for you. Web browsing, which I kind of showed you a little bit earlier. If we visit OnTech, rendering is actually really, really slow on the browser, which is disappointing, but scrolling and moving around is very, very smooth and very, very quick. Zooming is also very, very quick. Everything appears to be treated as a texture, and you'll see you just basically get swapped in high-res textures after you zoom in. But again, everything's GPU accelerated, so you get great, great performance. I believe that the browser is one of the areas that Microsoft does have to do the most work on. There's the foundation for something great here, but it's functionally not quite as good as iOS at this point, although performance-wise is excellent. Bing plays a prominent role in Windows Phone 7. All search and maps and everything is driven by it. So if we hit Maps, we get Bing Maps. And you'll see you get pretty good performance. Again, everything is GPU accelerated. You get these nice fading effects as you zoom in and zoom out. And as I brought up earlier, Bing search is what you use for search. You can do voice activated search. It'll listen and you tell it what you want to search for. Actually works reasonably well. It's just something I don't use on phones. And there you have the UI elements of Windows Phone 7.